Chapter 1: A Normal Day Turned to Ash. Uppsala, April 29, 2025. It was a Tuesday that had promised nothing but the usual rhythm of life. Uppsala, the old heart of Sweden, where Gothic spires pierced blue spring skies and bicycles wove between university halls, was alive with anticipation. Walpurgis Night, one of Sweden's most beloved festivals, was just a day away. Students from across the country had gathered in town. Laughter echoed in the parks, flags fluttered gently above city windows, and the air carried the scent of coffee, lilacs, and optimism. On Dragabrunnsgatan, one of Uppsala's quieter commercial streets, life moved as it always had. In a small, locally owned hair salon tucked beside a bakery that sold cinnamon buns and cardamom rolls, a few customers waited patiently. Most were teenagers, boys in tracksuits, girls in hoodies, talking softly or watching videos on their phones. A stylist in her 20s was trimming a boy's hair near the back. Pop music played softly in the background. The chatter was easy, the kind of noise that makes a place feel lived in and safe. At 3:45 p.m., the door creaked open. A teenage boy stepped inside. No one noticed him at first, not really. He was just another young person in the city that day. But something was off. His hood was pulled high, casting a shadow over his face. A black face covering masked everything but his eyes. He didn't speak. He didn't look around. He didn't seem uncertain or lost. Then came the first shot. Some thought it was a car backfiring. But the second and third came fast, too fast. The salon erupted in chaos. Someone screamed. A mirror shattered. Scissors clattered to the floor. People ducked. Some ran. Others froze. 3 bodies hit the floor. They hadn't had time to move. One had just been joking about the football match that weekend. Another had been texting her sister. One was still sitting in the chair, half a haircut finished. Their laughter, their questions, their futures, they vanished with the smoke. The shooter turned. And just as quickly as he had come, he left, slipping out through the door and disappearing into the street. Some witnesses said he rode away on a small electric scooter, gliding between alleyways like a ghost. Others were too shocked to speak. The silence afterward was unbearable. Sirens soon pierced the air. Within minutes, blue lights bathed the street. The police, trained for scenarios they never hoped to face, cordoned off the salon with yellow tape. Medics pushed through, but it was too late. 3 teenagers. Gone. The area was locked down. The scent of blood and antiseptic replaced the hairspray. Crime scene photographers moved through the salon with quiet urgency, capturing the horror frozen in that small space. Strands of hair still lay on the floor, mingled with shattered glass and shoes abandoned mid-flight. In a press conference later that evening, the police confirmed the worst: the victims had no criminal history. They were not involved in gangs. They were not the intended targets of some organized vendetta. They were just there. And the shooter? He was only 16 years old. He was known to police. A troubled background. Possible ties to criminal networks. But nothing that could have predicted this level of violence, this level of disregard for human life. He had been arrested just hours after the shooting, found hiding in a stairwell not far from where he had disappeared. He surrendered without resistance. News of the attack spread quickly, first in Sweden, then across the world. Teen gunman kills 3 in Uppsala. Walpurgis Night stained by tragedy. People lit candles outside the salon. Flowers piled up on the sidewalk. Mothers clutched their children closer. Schools held moments of silence. The entire city grieved. But behind the grief, fear took root. Uppsala had changed. A place known for books, not bullets. For scholars, not shooters. A place where generations had come to learn, to grow, to begin their adult lives. And now, that image was broken, like the mirror in the salon, shattered beyond repair. As night fell on the city, the sky filled with the usual light of the northern spring. But something darker hung over the rooftops that evening. A question that would not be silenced. Why did this happen? And could it happen again? Chapter 2: Shadows in the Heart of a City. The hours that followed the shooting unfolded like a nightmare wrapped in daylight. As investigators moved through the crime scene with measured calm, the city around them trembled with unease. What had seemed impossible that morning, a brutal triple murder carried out by a teenager, had not only happened, but it had happened in broad daylight, in the heart of Uppsala. Outside the hair salon, a sea of flowers and candles began to bloom. Grieving classmates left handwritten notes, "You were always smiling. You didn't deserve this." Some returned again and again, staring through the taped-off windows in disbelief. Teachers, parents, shopkeepers, none could make sense of it. The scene became a shrine, not just for the 3 who had died, but for a city that had lost something of itself. The arrest. By nightfall, the shooter was in custody. The 16-year-old suspect had been found crouched in the stairwell of an apartment building less than 2 kilometers from the crime scene. He had shed his hoodie and face covering but still carried the weapon, a small automatic firearm. Police said he gave himself up without a struggle. He was not new to them. His name, still withheld from the public due to his age, had appeared in multiple investigations over the past 2 years. A troubled youth from one of Uppsala's outer districts, he had reportedly drifted toward criminal gangs before his 15th birthday. He had been in juvenile court twice. There were whispers of violence, of threats, of debts unpaid. But no one had expected this. According to early reports, the shooter may have been acting on behalf of a criminal group involved in territorial disputes in Uppsala and Stockholm. Though the victims were not gang members, one of them was allegedly connected to someone who had been involved in a prior altercation. Investigators warned against speculation but confirmed that the motive was likely linked to organized youth crime. The revelation sent a deeper chill through the community. A city on edge. For many in Uppsala, especially the older generation, this event shattered a comforting illusion. Uppsala had long prided itself on being different from Sweden's larger cities. Yes, there had been shootings in Malmö and Gothenburg, even in Stockholm, but not here. Not in a city known for Nobel laureates, for ancient manuscripts, for quiet libraries and choir concerts. But in recent years, the cracks had widened. The once rare specter of gang violence had begun to take root even here. A string of arsons. A stabbing outside a youth center. Graffiti marking gang territory on high school lockers. The signs were there, but easy to overlook. Now, no one could. On the morning after the shooting, schools across Uppsala began crisis meetings. Some parents refused to send their children in. Others demanded armed police patrols. The mayor appeared on local television, visibly shaken. This is not the Uppsala we know. But it is the Uppsala we must now face. Social workers spoke of lost boys, youth slipping through the cracks of underfunded programs, lured by fast money and the illusion of respect. Teachers recalled warning signs that had gone unheeded. Some called for harsher punishment. Others called for reform. But above all, there was grief. And guilt. The families. The families of the victims released brief statements through police intermediaries. They asked for privacy. They asked for peace. But their pain was public and immense. One mother was reportedly hospitalized after collapsing from shock. Another family held a silent vigil in their courtyard, lighting 3 candles every night at 8 p.m. Friends of the victims described them as funny, kind, ambitious. One wanted to be a nurse. Another was obsessed with music. The third had just applied for a summer job. They were not involved in anything criminal. Their only mistake, if one could call it that, was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The weapon and the wider problem. The gun used in the attack was traced to the black market, likely smuggled in from Eastern Europe. Authorities confirmed it was not the first illegal firearm to make its way into the hands of teenagers. In fact, Swedish police have been reporting for years that criminal gangs increasingly use young boys, often under the age of legal prosecution, to carry out violent acts. It's a loophole, a moral failure, and a growing epidemic. Minister of Justice announcements followed swiftly: more funding, tighter gun laws, youth intervention plans. But for many, it felt like too little, too late. The hair salon reopened its doors 2 weeks later. The mirrors were replaced, the walls repainted, but the shadow lingered. Few could walk past the building without pausing. Some still crossed the street to avoid it. A plaque was installed near the entrance, in memory of 3 lives lost too soon. May we never forget. A city reclaims its soul. Despite the pain, Uppsala did not fall silent. Students organized a peace march. Thousands walked through the city, holding candles and photos of the victims. They ended their route in the university square, where professors, clergy, and youth leaders took turns speaking not of vengeance, but of healing. One said, "We will not let fear rewrite the identity of this city." That evening, as dusk settled, someone strung fairy lights across the street where the shooting happened. Someone else placed a violinist near the square. Music floated through the streets of Uppsala again, not gunfire, but hope.